In the last video, we covered a goddess born from a head, Athena. So today, let's talk about another goddess born from, well, the other head, the goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite. Ancient Greeks believed that Aphrodite's homeland was the island of Cyprus. Her origin story, though, is a bit unique. In the primordial clash, Titan Cronos overthrew his father, Uranus, by severing his teapot set, so to speak. The remains fell into the sea near Cyprus, mingling with the ocean waves, and from this foamy union, Aphrodite emerged, radiant and blooming like a flower. The Horae, goddesses of the seasons, were conveniently waiting there to welcome her and escort her to Olympus. The Olympian gods, thrilled to greet such a celestial beauty, welcomed her with open arms. In every sense of the word, Aphrodite could indeed be called a gift from the heavens. There's another, less popular version claiming she was the daughter of Zeus and Dione, but let's be honest, the sea foam story is the one that truly stuck. In terms of raw power, Aphrodite isn't exactly a heavyweight, but her influence is undeniable thanks to her ability to make all beings swoon. Everyone except Zeus, that is. Though he's the master of seduction, Zeus has his limits and steers clear of his daughters and daughters-in-law. Aphrodite's beauty is legendary. Rivers stop flowing, birds fall from the sky, and stags bow down. Men, too, become helpless fawns in her presence. Her charm is so potent that it transcends physical strength, for neither gods nor mortals can live without love or resist the pull of beauty. She embodies the Greek ideals of philosophical love and romanticism, prompting people to ponder not just how to live, but how to live beautifully and meaningfully. That said, some gods are immune to her charms. Goddesses like Hestia, Athena, and Artemis stay resolutely single and uninterested in romance, while the male gods, well, we'll leave that alone. Aphrodite's power resides in her enchanted girdle, which causes whoever wears it to become irresistible. She lent it to Paris, allowing him to woo Queen Helen of Sparta, sparking the infamous Trojan War. Because of this, Greek maidens would offer handmade girdles at her altar, hoping for luck and love. Aphrodite's cult had some rather risque customs as well. In ancient rites, young women would offer themselves to men in her temple as a form of sacred initiation, displaying Aphrodite's authority over passion and allowing the women to exercise their beauty freely afterward. The men, of course, would pay handsomely for the privilege, making Aphrodite the first recorded deity to protect a form of sacred prostitution. For the Greeks, Aphrodite represented sensual, full-bodied beauty, contrasting with the delicate, reserved ideals of the East. Statues of Aphrodite were often nude or semi-nude, embodying a natural, uninhibited sensuality. To this day, Western art often refers to nude female statues or paintings as Venus, the Roman name for Aphrodite, cementing her as the eternal icon of feminine allure. Aphrodite, known for her many love affairs with both gods and mortals, had a rather unconventional marriage to Hephaestus, the god of the forge. Though officially his wife, Aphrodite wasn't exactly the picture of fidelity, and famously carried on a scandalous affair with Ares, Hephaestus' full-blooded brother. One time, Hephaestus even caught the two in a net, creating a spectacle on Olympus that became the talk of the gods. Yet even as the goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite wasn't immune to heartbreak. Her most tragic love was with Adonis, a mortal whose origins were complicated. Adonis's father, King Cinyras of Cyprus, boasted that his daughter Mira was more beautiful than Aphrodite herself. Not one to let that slide. Aphrodite cursed Cinyras with madness, making him mistake his daughter for his wife. Thus, Adonis was born from this twisted union. After Mira gave birth, Cinyras cast her out, leaving her to wander with her infant son until she died of exhaustion. Aphrodite, moved by pity, took Adonis in, but instead of raising him herself, she sent him to the underworld for Persephone to look after. Adonis grew into a stunning young man, so captivating that when Aphrodite returned to reclaim him, Persephone refused to let him go. She was quite happy to keep Adonis as her own sugar baby. The two goddesses brought their dispute to Zeus, who decreed that Adonis would spend half the year with each of them. Aphrodite adored Adonis, never wanting to leave his side, and even accompanied him on his hunts, despite her disdain for such activities. She constantly warned him to avoid hunting dangerous animals and to stick to gentle creatures. But one day, while Aphrodite was away, Adonis went out on his own. When he spotted a wild boar, he couldn't resist the thrill of chasing big game and was tragically gored to death. Some say the boar was actually sent by Ares, jealous and seeking revenge. Upon hearing the news, Aphrodite was devastated. She searched the woods for Adonis's body, tearing through thorns and rocks, her blood staining the white roses red. From that day on, the red rose became a symbol of love, beauty, and youth. Some versions of the tale say it was Adonis's own blood that dyed the flowers. When Aphrodite finally found his body, she wept bitterly, mourning her lost love. Zeus, moved by her grief, allowed Adonis to return from the dead each spring, so that he and Aphrodite could reunite with the bloom of the season. Another tale of Aphrodite's divine intervention involves yet another king from Cyprus, Pygmalion. Though he was both a king and an immensely talented sculptor, Pygmalion's personal life was, let's say, unconventional. For reasons unknown, he developed a deep disdain for women and vowed to remain a lifelong bachelor, devoting himself entirely to art and, of course, his beloved kingdom. Pygmalion's true love was his craft. He sculpted an exquisitely beautiful statue of a young woman from ivory, so delicate and lifelike that he became utterly captivated. The lines between art and reality blurred as he found himself completely enchanted by his creation. He began to converse with the statue, convinced she was simply too moved by his love to respond. But reality has a way of intruding, and whenever he touched her cold ivory shoulder, he felt only the harshness of lifeless stone, snapping him back to reality. Despairing, Pygmalion collapsed at the foot of the statue. What happened in that lonely artist's studio, no one knew, except Aphrodite. The goddess of love, touched by his strange devotion, decided to step in and help Pygmalion fulfill his rather peculiar fantasy. Why just be a pillow lover when you can have the real thing after all? So, on the festival day of Aphrodite, when Cyprus was bustling with festivities and people flocked to the goddess's temple to pay homage, Pygmalion went too, offering sacrifices and praying for a wife as beautiful as his ivory maiden. And when he returned home, surprise, the statue had transformed into a living, breathing woman. Overjoyed, he named her Galatea and took her as his wife. And from then on, let's just say Pygmalion and Galatea were very, very busy. Love, the force that unites heaven and earth, bringing forth life and creation, is Aphrodite's greatest gift to the world and the embodiment of her power. Even Zeus, who's rarely one to resist temptation, wouldn't dare, or perhaps doesn't want to, go against it, especially given his own, romantic inclinations. While a few gods might resist love without consequence, it's another story for mortals. To reject Aphrodite's gift is to insult her directly, and that's exactly what Narcissus did. Narcissus was, without a doubt, the king of good looks, practically born with future heartbreaker stamped on his forehead. His beauty made him a magnet for admirers, and young women were constantly throwing themselves at him, boldly professing their love. Narcissus's response? A hard, unyielding no, leaving many of them feeling humiliated. Soon, the scorned admirers grew to resent him, and one finally prayed to Aphrodite, pleading for retribution. Aphrodite, not one to let an insult slide, granted the request, cursing Narcissus to love only himself. One spring, while hunting in the forest, Narcissus stopped to rest and stumbled upon a crystal-clear spring. He leaned down to drink, and there it was, the face that would captivate him, his own reflection in the water. Mesmerized, he gasped, marveling at his own beauty. How could anyone be this stunning? He mused, enchanted. He leaned in to kiss the reflection, but as he moved, it disappeared. Frustrated and bewildered, Narcissus waited until his reflection returned, reaching out to embrace it, only for it to vanish again and again. This endless cycle of longing and loss left him despondent, pining beside the pool until he finally withered away, unable to tear himself from his own image. Where he died, a delicate white flower bloomed by the water's edge, a narcissus with a beauty as cold and aloof as he had been. Today, his name endures in Western languages, a term for those consumed by self-love. The narcissist, who, like Narcissus, cannot look beyond their own reflection. In Greek mythology, alongside Aphrodite, there's another god of love, Eros, also known as Cupid in Roman mythology. With his wings and bow, Eros flies around, shooting his arrows haphazardly, making countless hearts skip a beat or two. The ancients saw Eros as one of the primal forces of life itself, born from the primordial chaos, alongside Sky, Uranus, and Earth, Gaia. Later traditions, however, depict Eros as the son of Aphrodite and Ares. Known as the god of passionate, idealistic love, albeit sometimes a bit reckless, Eros represents the thrill of overcoming initial shyness and connecting with another. Every successful union, after all, is a small victory. Aphrodite, on the other hand, is often associated with a more intense, sometimes irrational form of love. Her influence can drive people to lose their senses, spark scandals, or simply be the god of desire, plain and simple. And with that, we wrap up today's video.